Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to another episode of the Connected Spirit podcast. I am so excited to share, to introduce you to this very special guest of ours on the show, Liz Roberta. She is an author of Living in Tune with Hay House. Y'all can see the book here. I have it. Absolutely love it. She's a business coach for holistic entrepreneurs in the wellness space who really want to grow their business the feminine way. And she won the Emerging Voices category in the Kindred Spirit Award and has been featured in publications such as Metro, Glamour, the NYC Journal, and Yahoo, and Take a Break magazine. She coaches healers to find total alignment in their business and lead with their heart. In the words of Jonny Wilkinson, CBE, Liz is a powerful presence. She emanates spontaneity and lives an inspiring message. Liz, thank you so much, love, for being on the show. I'm just so enthused and excited to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
So we kind of met each other through online, and we know a mutual person. And because of that connection, I started following you on IG, and there's something very real and authentic, but also very light about you, the energy that comes off. And it's a magnetic energy. And I think that's maybe one of the reasons why you've really, achieved success in the work that you do, is because you're very real and authentic, but you do it in a way that it's not like this heavy and dense energy. And so I love that. It's light and it's bright. Now, I did mention that you are an author, and that's when I grabbed the book and I started reading Living in Tune. And I'm wondering, before kind of we delve into that, if you could share with the listeners like a little bit about your story, your background, and then what really what inspired you to write this book?
Oh my goodness. This is a long story, so I'm just going to tune into which parts are
Sure.
the most important to share. So I think the first piece is I was always drawn to spirituality. I don't know about you, but when I was a child, it was my interest. I've got a box from the early 2000s with Taurus 2002, and it was all books because, this was before a lot of people had internet in their homes, and crystals. And there was this magazine called Ms. Magazine, and it was a weekly magazine, and they had a spell, and I would cut out the spells, and I had this folder full of these spells that I'd cut out. And this was my hobby. And as I said, this was pre-social media, pre-internet really, or people having it in their homes. So I don't know where it came from. And I would burn incense in my room. And I went to a Christian school. We said the Lord's Prayer 3 times a day. I don't know where I got it from. I honestly don't. It was just always there. And I had this really strong belief in manifestation. I knew I could create whatever I wanted to. And so when I was doing these spells as a child in primary school, which is first school for us, I was doing it because I knew if I did spells, I'd get a boy to like me. I would get the result I wanted in a test. I'd get those things. And that was an unshakable knowing that I always had from the very beginning. However, when I grew up, I did well in school and I wanted to make money. I grew up with no money, horrendously stressful. My parents actually broke up because my dad had secretly hidden all these money struggles, was heavily in debt, had gone into bankruptcy, and he'd hidden it from my mum, and they broke up. So lack of money was a huge issue growing up. So my response was, I need to make money. I've got to make money. And so I did an economics degree. I went into investment banking, and people can never believe it when they meet me now. I've got a big snake tattoo on my arm, and I'm obviously doing spiritual work, but no, I was in a gray suit. I was good at it. I was successful in big quotation marks. However, I also had an anxiety disorder. I was also so unbelievably unhappy, and I didn't know why. And that was my early 20s. And that really set me off on a quest because I didn't realize I had an anxiety disorder. I went to the doctor and we did all the tests, and they said, there's nothing physically wrong with you. I think you've got an anxiety disorder. And so they prescribed me pills to help the symptoms, but they weren't a cure. And then that set me off on a whole journey of healing. And I was trying to find something that would actually be a solution, a permanent solution. After 3 years of headaches every day, crippling headaches all day, palpitations, insomnia, I'd wake up in the night, have horrendous nightmares, sweating profusely, and then I'd have to go and do a busy job all day the next day. I was in this awful cycle of just no rest from it. And so I was seeking a cure. I started looking into alternative therapies, Reiki, acupuncture, crystals. The thing that actually shifted it was A, hypnotherapy that really helped me. And B, I did a 3-hour third eye opening meditation on YouTube, a free meditation. And then after that, I started seeing these clairvoyant visions, pretty unspectacular ones. But for example, I saw one of me hunched over a steering wheel crying, and I thought, oh, I hope that's not true. A week later, I got turned down for a job that I'd applied for. And
Mm.
I'd got all the way to the end, multiple interview phases, and I was hunched over the steering wheel crying. And so I had opened my third eye by focusing on it, and the headaches went away. And the headaches that I used to have were at the front of my head. They were tension headaches, not migraines. And so it's obvious to me now, oh, that was blocked energy around my third eye. But without that knowledge, that language, anyone around me who saw things from that perspective, I just had no idea. And once I got into it, I mean, that was it. I found the secret. I ended up sitting next to a boss. I moved from investment banking into fashion, trying to find something that was a bit more fun and creative, thinking that would solve the problem. It didn't. I needed purpose. But while I was in that era of my life, the universe sat me next to my boss who was into personal development because he was a triathlete outside of work.
Mm.
And so we would sit there all day. Our team would be rolling their eyes like, oh, for goodness sake, they're at it again. Why don't they do some work? We would just be dreaming about being entrepreneurs, being free, working for ourselves, traveling the world with our laptop. And he recommended books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Tim Ferriss, The 4 Hour Work Week. And that was the first time I'd ever considered entrepreneurship. And so this was 2015 to 2017. And so I started to put these two things together. Okay, I love spirituality. I've always loved spirituality. I've read tarot since I was 14 years old. And then entrepreneurship started to become an idea. And at this point, we had the internet. I had Instagram, and I started to see a way it could be possible. Because when I was that child, loving spirituality as a hobby, reading tarot as a teenager, there were no job options that I could see. It was working in a crystal shop, and that was it. I didn't see any other way that I could physically do that work until later on in life. And so there are multiple little steps in between. But yeah, by 2020, I got my book deal with Hay House, and it came out in January 2022. It was actually 11/1/22, the date, 11th of January. And when that came in, I mean, I wasn't someone who wanted to be an author. So I always loved words. I found English like the easiest of all the lessons. That should have been a clue, but I wasn't thinking in that way. I was trying to get to the outcome, the money. I didn't think, oh, I should do what's really easy and fun for me. Never crossed my mind. And that was one of the things that really inspired the book because no one had ever told me or even modeled to me to start making decisions from a place that wasn't just logic. And actually, if I were to look back, I would realize, okay, the things that I enjoyed most and was best at, religion and philosophy,
Mm.
English, psychology, business. And it's like what I'm doing now is just all those things that were always there. If you'd asked me at 16 to choose the topic, because we do 4 topics at 16 to 18, if you'd asked me to choose what I wanted to do for fun, it would be those topics. And that's what I'm doing now. And so the book came along and all of this totally organically. It just started channeling in. I would be walking down the corridor at work and then sentences, paragraphs would drop in. I'd catch them in my phone. And then I realized one day, this is the longest phone note ever. There were so many words. And so I transferred them onto my laptop, just curious to see how many words are actually here. And it was over 30,000.
Wow.
And so I thought, okay, this is meant to be a book because I've done a degree and a master's. They were 10,000 word dissertations. I used to think that was a lot. So when I had 30,000, I thought, holy moly, that is meant to be something, surely. So I started to just open up the intention, again, very organically, because I'd never planned to be an author. And that isn't even the inspiration that came in, it was the words. I didn't get a message saying you have to write a book, just the words started coming. So I opened up that intention. Again, the universe led me on YouTube, just showed me a video, someone I wasn't subscribed to, had never seen or heard of before. Someone she was quite a big spiritual influencer and she'd been to a Hay House event. And so I watched the video. I thought, interesting. Hay House. Okay. Google Hay House. And then I found out they were doing an event in the October. Now, this was in the May. I got a ticket to that event, spent 2 days with them, learned how to write a book, applied. They said no. Tried again. They said no. Tried again. They said no. But after they said no that time, they said, but we are interested. And so that began a process of back and forth for a few months until it eventually came out. But now I look back at those previous versions that I sent in, and I'm so grateful they said no. And at the time, it's so hard, but actually, it was perfect. And I wasn't developed enough as a writer and an author as I needed to be to actually get to the point of it being published. And I think that's so true with all of our manifestations. We think we want the thing now, the relationship, the house, the location move, the book deal. But are we truly, truly ready for it? And we think we are. But actually, when we finally get it, we realize, it's so much better now. And so that's what happened with the book.
That is so powerful, and what a really important lesson, a soul lesson that you learned that and that you shared, and I think this is so valuable for people too, Liz, is because we can practice everything in the manifestation. I mean, a lot of people are familiar with Louise Hayes, Gabby Bernstein, Abraham Hicks, and they give us steps on how to do this, but if we don't embody the manifestation and our soul isn't at the place where we're ready to receive, it just means not right yet. Doesn't mean it's like a infinite no, like a definitive no. And so I love how you stayed inspired despite getting those no's. What do you think was that that drive that kept you going without being discouraged? I would suspect that there would have been a little bit of disappointment, but what was it that kept you going?
Really good question. So there's a chapter called Perseverance in the book because they all begin with P. There's 21 chapters beginning with P. And so in that one, I talk about how when you know the thing is right for you, you don't give up. And I'd been given some winks along the way. And I think that's why I really stuck with Hay House specifically, because I wasn't applying to other places. I was like, it's Hay House, it's Hay House. I've got a screenshot on my phone of a masterclass I was watching. And Reed Tracy, the CEO, the screen paused, the training paused on him pointing at the screen as though he's looking and pointing at me. And I was, whoa, okay. So I took a photo of it. I've still got the photo. So that happened. I was flicking through a Hay House book and then was drawn to one of the last pages and my eyes zoomed in on the line, welcome to the Hay House family. And Louise Hay came to me in a dream as well. That was a big one. She visited me. So these things happened to say, it's Hay House, it's Hay House. So, and they were so, completely real and certain to me in terms of the strength of the messages I was getting. So I think that's why I stuck with it.
And that's powerful too. And not everybody receives that type of guidance, or can I say that guidance is open to them, but not everybody is receptive to that. And people can call that your intuition, your higher self. Perhaps there's guiding influences, guides, ancestors, angels to receive that information from them. But in your book, Living in Tune, you talk a lot about connecting to your higher self. Do you feel that was your higher self speaking to you, guiding you, leading you?
Yeah. I've never thought about it too much actually, but I guess it was because I just didn't waste any time going anywhere else. Even though they kept saying no, I kept going back and I was crushed. And I tell the story in the book. One of them was when I was away for my wedding. And so I thought I was going to go away for my wedding. It was in Italy, incredible. And I thought at the same time, they're also going to offer me a book deal. Wow, this is going to be the best thing ever. And they didn't. So that was, kind of crushing. And I just had to sweep it away and obviously get on with it. So it was really crushing when I didn't get it. Also because I was getting the signs. So I
Yeah.
really had those moments of, what the hell, universe,
Yep.
am I going crazy? Why are you giving me these signs and then taking it away? And also my tarot cards were like, yes, yes, yes. They were so sure it was going to be Hay House. And so when they said no each time, it was really throwing me into doubt and, questioning things. Why am I getting these signs? Am I just a lunatic? Are these signs real? I was sure they were. But that adds an extra layer of sting, I think, when you feel like you're getting betrayed by the universe. I wasn't. But at the time, it was hard. But I mean, it's been so many years now. You look back and
Yeah.
you're like, oh, distant memory. But when you're in it, it's really challenging.
And it's about relying on that beautiful word trust, like trusting your soul gifts, trusting your higher self, trusting the universe really does have your back. And it's not easy, people scroll social media, they read books, and it sounds warm and fuzzy and just so perfect. But yet the lived experience can be a lot more challenging. And I feel, even from my own experience, it's the trusting that really develops some of those soul gifts or allows them to really kind of come to the surface so we can truly embody them and live a life that's really aligned. And you talk about living a life in alignment, and you work a lot with holistic practitioners and people in the spiritual arts, and you support them in growing feminine, heart-led feminine businesses. And how do you coach them, or what would be one thing that you would say helps them move from that place of disconnect and not trusting to really leaning in with faith that they can run their business, but in a way that they're letting the heart lead? Because that's really the feminine energy, is flow and heart and trust, right?
I think the foundation of it all is getting them really clear on what they're here to do.
Mm,
Because I think it's when you're not clear on what your soul gifts are, your purpose, if you want to call it that, that then you struggle to trust. And then you struggle to find your own way. Because I think the feminine way, at the core of it, is intuition and trust, like you said. But if you don't know what you're meant to be doing, you don't know what you're here for, that's really the starting block. Whereas once, like you and I, we know what our soul gifts are. And of course, they evolve and they change, and there are different dimensions to it. But roughly, we pretty much know what they are. And so then from there, it allows you to kind of guide forwards with that. And I think everyone has a different path. Like, one way will work for one person, one way will work for another person. I think that's why people are drawn to the feminine way of doing business led by intuition, because they probably tried other business coach tactics and gone, this doesn't work, or this doesn't feel right, because it's not right for them. And so it's about leaving behind what other people are doing, comparison, what works for everyone else, and understanding I'm different. I'm unique because I have unique gifts. I have a unique way of working. Different things will work for me than will work for someone else. And so that's the intuitive way. But it all begins with that foundation piece of having an idea what your soul gifts are. And then that gives you the clarity and the confidence to start moving forward in your own way, I think.
And in your book, you really, I mean, I haven't completed it because I really am taking my time to really do the deep work. I never will ever say that arrived. I really feel like we're always learning and growing. And I say that humbly too. Even though I'm a mentor, I don't claim to have all the answers. I'm really open to being teachable. And I think that's something that has served me well. And what I love about the book, though, is through these 21 questions, it really does help clarify what some of these soul gifts are and how a person can move into alignment. And I'm just curious, where did you come up with all of the questions, or like the P's? Because the P's, there's 21 of them, but they really make you go deep within.
I'm so glad you said that. Thank you. And a lot of people say that to me about the peas, the peas. I'm like, oh yeah, I can't I can't really remember how the pea idea came to me, but I do remember buying a dictionary, which I still have in front of me, a big, thick Oxford English dictionary. I was living in Glastonbury at the time, which is the ancient land of Avalon, very spiritual place. That was where the book was born. And I spent an entire weekend, Saturday and Sunday. My husband was away, and I was just trying to figure out what these 21 words would be. And I'd pitched it to Hay House as a unique twist. I was like, okay, purpose. I'm going to do all the chapters beginning with P. And so I then thought, okay, crap, I've got to find. I knew the essences and the energy of what each chapter would be. And so I had to find a word that fit for each of them. But yeah, a lot of people reflect that back to me. I don't have an amazing story around it, unfortunately. I knew it was a little quirk that had to be in there. And then it was quite challenging for some of them. And then I had to make sure they flowed in the right kind of order. They felt like they progressed correctly from one onto the next, and that
Mhm.
all the words felt right. And yeah, Hay House loved it as well.
It's so great. Now, for those of you who are like, what are the P's? I'm just going to quickly give them to you, but go get the book so you can learn about this. Okay, guys? Power, pain, problem, panorama, pioneer, protest, pursuit, possibilities, purge, possessions, panache. I don't know if we pronounce that the same in Canada as the UK. Passion, pinnacle, path, past, present, patience, persevere, perspective, prosper, purpose. Like, holy smokes, they're deep. I've personally worked on some of these in something else, especially when I was doing my ministry training. Perseverance and patience, those are like not easy lessons, soul lessons. They make you really reevaluate your mindset, your belief systems, your path. Why are you doing what you're doing? Is this even aligned? And how do you support women when they're growing a business in letting go of what they think they need to do and aligning with what their soul is leading them to do?
Mm.
It's not
Big
easy.
question. Yeah.
It's not easy.
I'd say it's a long process. It's not something that happens overnight.
Yeah.
And I think that clarity creates confidence. So in the work that I do specifically, I'm a healer as well. And I know I don't sell healing sessions, I never have, but it happens within all of my work. And I do healing within my programs. So that helps to kind of peel away some of the layers, insights, just kind of breaking down, trying to get to the core of who they are. And once they see the magic of who they are, their gifts, their power, their light, their unique essence, that creates this massive confidence that creates expansion. And then they get so excited about who they are, why they're here, what they can offer the world. That is what creates the magic. So it's about chipping things away to create a breakthrough so they can see the magic that they have. Because I think that is the biggest cloud that incredibly gifted people have, is the self-doubt and the lack of confidence. And so it's breaking that away so they can see clearly.
And it's a process, and we want to sometimes rush to get to the end point, but we can miss so much of the beauty of our lived experiences while going through whatever we're going through, right? What would be maybe some practical steps, like 2 or 3 steps where people could start now, look at kind of peeling back some of those layers? If somebody's listening to the show and be like, I don't even know. I just know I'm meant for something else, but I don't even know what that is. What would your advice be to them?
Mm. Get the book, number one. There's
Yes. There's
lots of
lots of stuff in
questions
there.
in there. Lots
Yeah.
and lots of questions. My goodness, that was a whole thing as well, because there are 21 questions at the beginning of the chapters and then 3 at the end. So
Mhm.
there's like over 80 questions. So definitely start there. Apart from that, I would say really paying attention to the feedback that the universe is giving you. So, when I told my story earlier, I said how the universe was giving me these winks and these nudges. And you pointed out how I was tuned into those, but other people may not be. And so, it's starting to open your eyes and having that awareness. What is being reflected back to me? What conversations keep coming up? What do people keep coming to me for help with? What keeps appearing in my reality? What's not working in my reality? What am I being pulled towards and pulled away from? Because once you set that intention, I think intention is the most powerful energy that we have at our disposal. Once you truly set that intention, you're making a declaration and things start to move and shift. And so when you set that intention, that declaration, I want to be in alignment with my soul work, then you start to get shown things, led to things. A friend will invite you to an event and say, hey, you've got to come along to this, or someone will send you a podcast episode. These things start happening. And you always have to have the intention at the back of your mind, but you also have to let go of it. So you can't hold it and go, right, where's the sign? Where's the sign? You forget about it and then you remember it once something happens. I had this recently. I was thinking, should I go to Dubai this year? And then we met, I was with my mum and my stepdad. we were just out and they got talking to this random stranger, and he was from Lebanon, and he turned to me and said, "You should go to Dubai." And it was so, and I was like, "Okay, thanks, universe." So it's just having your eyes open to that, noticing the feedback that you're getting from the universe. The second thing I would say is tuning out the noise. So when I was working, I didn't have much time or space at all. I'd work till 9 p.m. some days. I was a merchandiser and, going early and things like that. And then every weekend I'd be going to London or partying or doing something fun. And I had so little time. So one thing I did was I started turning off the radio on my drive. I drove for 45 minutes to and from work. So I turned the radio off. So at least I had that time in silence to be with my mind, to think, to reflect, walking the dog, having a bath, being in the shower, any of these moments, intentionally creating that white space in your mind is what allows things to drop in. And I know that can be so hard for people who are busy and parents and working, but trying to find, as I said, even when you're doing certain activities where you don't actually have to think, you can practice in your mind just quietening things down, checking in with yourself, checking in with your guides, higher self, God, source, whatever. Is there anything that you want to show me right now? Is there anything I need to receive right now? And just creating that white space within, because when we're so anxious, and you obviously heard my story, so I used to have the same issue,
Mhm.
like nothing comes in. There's too much noise for anything to come in. So doing that work to really quieten it down, and just journaling in general. I'm a daily journaler. I have been for years, and that has been so supportive. Gratitude journaling, intentions, things I'm co-creating with the universe. And then that helps you to build a relationship with yourself as well.
Those are really powerful tips, and everybody, you got to do it. It requires work and it requires effort, but the return on your investment, your ROI, is so, so massive in comparison to can I say, the small amount of action that it requires for the universe to come in and go, okay, we got you. Now we can get you aligned with where you're meant to be. And when you move into that state of alignment, it's not that you don't have challenges, but there's more flow and there's less like grinding and that feeling of grit and bumping your head up against the wall. How is that being in alignment with your soul gifts supported you in running your business and scaling your business? I mean, you're an author, you have an academy, you are doing speaking engagements, like you have a lot. How do you manage everything that you do? How do you, because you're running a business. It's a heart-led feminine business. How do you juggle it all?
Good question. So I have a rhythm, and you can imagine my week as a bell curve.
Mhm.
So Monday is my Monday fun day, which is just usually I don't have calls on a Monday or Friday unless there's an exception. So calls Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It peaks in the middle of the week. Wednesday's my podcast day. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are my kind of busy days. And then Friday's my flow day. So that's a lot of creative work, creating. And then obviously Saturday I always have off. That's called my Saturday, which is I never touch, like I don't touch my emails or Instagram, don't even go on them. So I'm fully unplugged on Saturdays. Sundays, if I'm away or doing something social, I'm off. Or if I'm at home, I might just do a little bit of something fun or creative or planning for the week or something like that. But creating that rhythm is what I found to be sustainable, because earlier on in my business, I was working. Then I worked part-time and had a business. And so I would just work, 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 work. And I found over time, the more I've got into that feminine rhythm and the flow, my income has grown. And it's the most interesting thing to look at, because I worked so much harder back then in terms of the force and the hustle. And also, I was earlier on in business as well. So you naturally get more momentum as you go. So that helps too. But a big issue that I had was receiving. And so I think there was some stuff around worthiness, not being able to receive, tying hard work to reward and money. And so, as I've done a lot of that work as well, the healing, the money mindset, all of that work has also allowed me to let go. And now I'm more comfortable receiving at higher and higher levels. So, I work on a rhythm. And how else do I balance it all? I also really honor my energy as well. So I always have to-do lists, but I'm pretty intuitive about how I do them. So if I'm really not feeling an activity and I can move it, I will. And then I often find that when I've done that, it's for a reason. And I go, oh, thank goodness I've done it now and didn't force myself to do it on that other day when it was feeling terrible. If I don't have to do it then, I'll swap it around. And again, that's something I've just got so much better at, because before, when I was so in the masculine, I just would force through and push through constantly. And so I was missing out on the magic of alignment that was trying to happen by telling me, no, don't do this. And so now I'm more tuned into that. And if something's feeling horrendous and I don't have to do it, then I don't. And I find the next day or the day after I want to do it. And then something has shifted, which makes me realize, oh, that was actually a much better time because of this. So I'm quite intuitive with my to-do lists now, and I have a rhythm. And yeah, how about you?
It's not been easy over the last couple of years because I thought it was really settled in business, to be honest with you. And then there was like another layer of inner healing that came up. And I find that the levels of inner healing come up before I level up in my business. And so, as opposed to panicking and stressing, I really lean into that. And like I've recently took a month off work. I'm like, no, I know that there'll be a little bit of an income dip, but I didn't care because I've always been mindful about putting money away. In the event anything happens or I just don't feel like I'm able to give what I want to give. And I took a month off and I'll tell you, it was the best thing I ever did. The first couple of days, though, I'm also neurodivergent. So I'm busy and constantly going, going, going. I struggle with that. But the first couple of days, I was antsy. My husband's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "No, I got to go on the elliptical. I need to go walk the dog. I need to move this energy." And then getting into that calm energy was the best thing. And taking moments to take a week off or 2 weeks off and more time for self care has actually created more space where my business has been able to hit the six figures and I work less. And people go, how does that make sense? Because if you're at capacity, the universe doesn't have any space to give you anymore. And self care and inner healing is something that comes up continuously. And now I look at it, I go, okay, awesome, let's do the work because I know something amazing and wonderful and abundant, not just monetarily, but is coming out of that. So I look at it as like, wow. And I think that's something that I see with other women who have spiritual based businesses is they don't always realize that patriarchy of how we think a business should run is actually counterintuitive to how our business is meant to run and where we can actually see success without dysregulating our nervous system, burning ourselves out, creating disharmony even within our home, right? If we're all a hot mess, that reflects out if people have children at home, their relationships, etc. And it's really this balance. And what I find really refreshing about your book, it's like we can calm all of that exterior noise just by slowing down and connecting with our heart space. And people think it has to be so complicated, but it's actually not. It's about being in the stillness, and it's not always comfortable, but you will get the most clarity and guidance. I mean, this is what you've been sharing with your own experience too, Liz.
Totally agree. And I find that when people say they can't meditate, they're the people that need to the most,
Yeah.
because I can think back to the time in my life where I couldn't meditate. And I remember my internal state then, but I didn't know any different. Like I said, I didn't know I had an anxiety disorder until
Mhm.
they told me. So I just thought that was normal to feel that way and to be so stressed and be in fight or flight. And I couldn't have meditated then. And so sometimes one of my favorite quotes ever is Joseph Campbell, "The cave we fear to enter holds the treasure we seek." And so
Mhm.
I think sometimes the thing that we avoid doing, that we keep getting signs that we should do, and we go, no, 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 that is the thing that holds the gold inside it for us. So if there's anyone listening who's resisting meditation, but they keep getting the signs. This is an invitation to go into it and to see.
Absolutely. It's so powerful. It really is. And it's a gift that can really support you in every area of your life, including your business. Definitely. Liz, you are a busy lady. You have all kinds of stuff up and coming. I keep up on your socials. I checked out your website. You have a beautiful website, by the way. It is,
Thank you.
yeah, it's beautiful aesthetically. I'm like, this is so gorgeous. It's really nice, really nice.
I'm
Can
so
you tell
glad.
our listeners what you have up and coming and how they can get in contact with you?
Oh my gosh, so much. So, right now, I'm launching a new program called Intuition Academy, which is helping entrepreneurs to use their intuition in business. I have a spiritual business bootcamp, which is a 3-month business program. I do one-to-one coaching as well, and that also includes some program access within it. I also have a spiritual coaching academy, which is a 3-month accredited spiritual coaching certification. That has been my legacy program. I've been running that since the beginning of 2022. So that has been going for a long time. But yeah, if any of those call to you, I'm also creating some new things which aren't out yet. So I'm just going to let them flow and be born in their own time. But those are the things I have out right now. And as you said, yeah, come and find me online and you will see whatever I've got going on at that moment.
Brilliant. Everybody, all of Liz's contact information you can find in the show notes. Definitely go follow her because her content is so inspiring. And she has a lot of very, very, I'm going to say, nourishing programs that can help you not only on your intuitive journey, but also growing your biz. And there's a lot of women that are moving into entrepreneurship. And I love that there are heart led people just like you that are showing up and helping them grow their business in a way that isn't, can I say, without the hustle. We have to get rid of this hustle mentality. It just doesn't work in 2024 in a healthy way. And so it's just, it's so beautiful. I love that. And you also have a podcast, Liz,
I do. It's very simple. The Liz Roberta Show.
and it's available on all streaming platforms.
Absolutely.
Amazing. So go check out her show, everybody. Liz, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your voice with my listeners. I've learned a lot, and I know that the listeners will definitely get a ton of value from your words today.
Thank you so much. This has been amazing.